Very good evening to you. It is 9 o'clock. Thanks for tuning in to NTV. Today marked the state memorial service for the late Daniel Arap Moi, and we'll bring you all the stories that you need to know from this key day. We'll also be coming to you live from Kabarak. Tomorrow is another big day that marks the burial for the late president, and also prior to that a service that will take place, and Kennedy Muredi will be bringing us those details. For now though, these are the day's top stories.
Tonight, Daniel Arap Moi's journey and celebration of life. Tributes of praise for the late former president.
Well, the time came to leave the national stage. Mzee Moi did what was then unthinkable.
I was, for example, one of the victims, but he was also forgiving, like I'm also forgiving.
Ulifanya mambo ovyo, basi tunakusahau.
Plus, first-hand narration of the Moi-Lena love story.
Immediately kwa nashika maua ya harusi.
And memories of Moi the father.
Mzee alikuwa anapendanga nyama. Tafadhali mzee, daktari amekataa. Akaniuliza, unaona daktari hapa?
Also tonight, the sting of the stampede.
Mtoto ameongea na daktari. Mtoto ameongea na nyanya yake. Kumbe mtoto ananiaga.
15th pupil who died from the Kakamega primary school tragedy is laid to rest.
And 4 police officers arrested for assaulting former GEM MP Jakoyo Midiwo at his home. The silence thereafter is mysterious.
Live from Nation Center, this is NTV Tonight with Smriti, Vidyarthi and Masai.
Good evening. We're glad you've chosen NTV Tonight for your news update. And David Agundo is our sign language interpreter. To our top story. And it was a parade of praises pouring out at the Nyayo Stadium as President Uhuru Kenyatta led Kenyans and various visiting heads of state and government in paying their last respects to the late retired President Daniel Arap Moi.
The state memorial service had tributes, memories and messages shared by selected speakers, including the visiting leaders. Seth Olale was at the 4-hour state funeral service and now brings us the details.
Kenyans started arriving at the Nyayo National Stadium from as early as 4 a.m. Dignitaries including senior government officials, governors, legislators and foreign envoys accessed the venue from 7 a.m. Deputy President William Ruto arrived a few minutes to 9 o'clock. He ushered in foreign dignitaries including Rwanda's President Paul Kagame, his Ugandan counterpart Yoweri Museveni, and Tanzania's former presidents Jakaya Kikwete and Benjamin Mkapa. However, a misunderstanding between Kenyan and Rwandan security officers saw ICT Cabinet Secretary Joe Musheru blocked from escorting President Paul Kagame to the VVIP dais. President Uhuru Kenyatta arrived at 10:03 a.m. accompanied by First Lady Margaret Kenyatta. Unlike other public events where the head of state inspects a military guard of honor, the president went straight to the dais and took his seat. The national and East African anthems were sung, led by the military band. Mzee Moi's cortege arrived at Nyayo Stadium at 10:20 a.m. The procession, which went round the stadium, included Kenya Army, Kenya Air Force, Kenya Navy, and late Moi's family, followed by a second contingent of Kenya Army. President Uhuru Kenyatta then left the podium to receive the body of the former Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. The pallbearers, who were senior-ranked military officers, had their capes off while carrying the body of their fallen leader. The head of state then invited the high-level guests in viewing Mzee's body with the casket partly open. Retired African Inland Church Bishop Silas Yego recited the opening prayer for the state memorial service, with Moi's family reading biblical verses as the newly installed AIC Bishop Abraham Mulwa presided over the church service. Moi's eulogy was read by his son Raymond Moi, and Gideon gave a tribute on behalf of the children.
Major test in his presidential tenure was in August '82, when a detachment of Air Force soldiers attempted to overthrow his government.
As a family, we are indebted to you. Asanteni, asanteni, asanteni.
And the tributes carried on with all who took to the podium, speaking great praise of the late former president.
When the time came to leave the national stage, Mzee Moi did what was then unthinkable. He voluntarily and without hesitation peacefully handed over the reins of power.
Many of the leaders in Kenya today are graduates of that school, including myself.
So we want to remember him for the good things that he did, which we want to carry forward as we move to try to unite our country, bring it together, and forget the other things, which mistakes that he made as a human being.
He is the icon of peace in our region.
Royal East Africa na capacity to reconcile even when we have had some differences. I saw this myself.
Msiba wenu ni wangu, msiba wenu ni wetu. Uchungu wenu ni wangu, uchungu wenu ni wetu.
From Nairobi, focus now shifts to Nakuru County, where 30,000 mourners will be expected to pay the final respects to the late Daniel Arap Moi, who will complete his journey by being laid to rest at his Kabarak home. Seth Olale, NTV, Nairobi County.
Well, still today, the late retired President Daniel Arap Moi's body was given the honor of a last trip to State House before the state funeral at the Nyayo National Stadium.
A brief service was conducted in his honor at the House on the Hill before the hearse was paraded through the streets of the capital city en route to the service.
NTV's Brenda Wanga takes us through the significant journey to the funeral service.
Before the sun's rays pierced the Nairobi skyline, the military men and women were at the Lee Funeral Home. Their brief to convey the body of the late retired President Daniel Arap Moi to his national memorial service. His flag-draped casket was carried in an elegant hearse, departing the funeral home for the first leg of the morning journey. That journey would see the hearse head to the address the late Mzee Moi was familiar with for the 24 years he ruled Kenya, State House. On this occasion, the current occupant of the house on the hill receiving the former head of state's body for the last time here. A small service before the cortege departed from the country's center of power for the very last time. This time, his body back on the ceremonial machine gun. The trappings of power on full display as the second president of the republic took that last lap of honor in the city. Following closely behind, in his presidential limousine, was President Uhuru Kenyatta, escorting his senior and mentor to that last national honor. Along the streets, security personnel formed a guard of honor that complemented the military parade and marching band that provided that much-needed soothing relief for mourning members of the nation. An hour after the hearse left State House, it snacked its way into the Nyayo National Stadium. Here, President Kenyatta led the receiving of the body. And even here, just like he had done while alive and in power, Moi took that last lap of honor in the stadium that he built ahead of the state funeral set for him. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
Just to get a bit more context in this ceremony, the military did not leave anything to chance as it pulled out all the stops to ensure their former commander-in-chief received a send-off befitting his status. As a former commander-in-chief of the armed forces, President Moi automatically became a commissioned senior officer of the army.
Well, today's event was the second time that a grandiose funeral was being witnessed in the country after the passing on of Mzee Jomo Kenyatta back in 1978, with a few twists and additions. Now, NTV Special Projects editor Dennis Okari takes us through the military rituals before and during today's National Memorial Service.
The 4th January presidential proclamation on the passing on of former President Daniel Arap Moi set in motion a complex but meticulous planning for the longest-serving head of state and former Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. In his proclamation, President Uhuru Kenyatta said, and I quote, "Mzee Moi is to be buried in full civilian and military honors
with his life and times."
Special meetings of high-ranking government and Kenya Defence Forces officials, including some from the Interior Ministry, came up with a funeral program which factored in the wishes of the deceased family. But the military was going to take the leading role with all the pageantry, pomp and traditions. The military replicated the standards used during the ritual of the late former President Jomo Kenyatta's final journey. But there were a few changes in Mzee Moi's case. Jomo Kenyatta lay in state for 10 days, and national mourning lasted a month, while Moi lay in state for 3 days, and the national mourning will last 9 days. In 1978, the military police took over activities at Lee Funeral Home and security at Parliament. The same tradition was repeated for Moi. Mzee Kenyatta's body was wheeled to Parliament on a horse-drawn carriage through the streets of Nairobi, draped with the Kenyan flag and coat of arms affixed on the carriage. Mzee Moi's body was carried in a casket atop a jungle green military gun carriage towed by a 4x4 tactical troop carrier that is designed for military, security and special forces. The casket was draped with the Kenyan flag but did not have the arms affixed to it because he died as a retired president, unlike Kenyatta. The military guard of honor procession from Lee Funeral Home to State House and on to Nyayo National Stadium was significant. Earlier reports had indicated the event was going to be held at the Moi International Sports Centre, Kasarani, but was later changed to Nyayo Stadium. It is not just the distance that was a convenience, but the facility was Mzee Moi's proud pet project, having constructed it in 1983 with no borrowed funds. This is also the venue where Moi stood many times during national celebrations and gave many memorable quotes.
Kama yuko mtu ametukana mimi namsamehe. Na kama yuko mtu ambaye nimesema chochote ambaye kimeumiza roho yake unisamehe.
Military men and women of the rank of Major and above escorted Moi's body to Nyayo Stadium and will do so during his burial. The pallbearers are also of the same rank. Dennis Okari, NTV.
Well, the curtains may have fallen for the late retired president, but his hand was evident at his funeral service, from the KANU colours to elements of fashion and more.
Zainab Ismail takes us through Moi's visible signature at his funeral service.
Even in his final bow, the late retired President Daniel Arap Moi's presence could be felt across the Nyayo National Stadium. With all the pageantry and pomp, the precision with which the military marched from State House to the Nyayo National Stadium, reminiscent of the powerful presence the late president evoked as the then Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Across the stadium, the colours of KANU stood out. Kenyans adorned red caps with Mzee Moi's popular quotes to honour his philosophy on peace, love and unity. The late Moi's meticulous eye for fashion was also witnessed here today. In nearly all his public appearances, the late president's suits were never complete without a fresh lapel flower pinned on his coat, a style most dignitaries who attended his funeral service today followed. And what was probably the most synonymous at presidential events during his time were the choirs that entertained attendees as they waited for the service to begin. They sang songs that praised the president and his party, KANU. This was a reflection of the music that marked his tenure. The memorial service was led by the Africa Inland Church, headed by the immediate former AIC presiding Bishop Yego.
Moi was a humble man, and one day I used to ask him, "You don't brag, why?" So he said, "It's all about God."
The day could not have ended without another common figure in the circles of power during his presidency, presidential MC Sami Lui.
The family of the late President Daniel Arap Moi.
The former director of presidential events evoked a nostalgic sense of the Moi era through his soothing voice and unparalleled command of both English and Swahili. And as the clock ticks before the late Mzee Moi is finally laid to rest next to his wife Helena at his Kabrak home in Nakuru, the efficiency of the events thus far have characterized Moi's punctual and precise nature. Zainab Ismail, NTV.
Every once in a while, the public got a glimpse of the late Daniel Arap Moi's private life. One of the main relationships he had was with his then wife, Lena Bomet Moi, who passed on in 2004, years after their separation.
Well, Leila Mohammed had a conversation with a man who not only introduced Moi to Lena, but was also his student for over a decade and a friend for life.
Very few homes in this part of the world stand tall, exhibiting Old English architecture. This is retired Principal Magistrate Harun Bomet's home. He served the country in various capacities in administration as well as in the justice system. He attributes the achievements to Daniel Moi.
It was about nafikiri kama 1946 au 47 ndio niliweza kujua vizuri. Otherwise nilimjua nikiwa mdogo sana.
But their teacher-student relationship was soon to change after he introduced Moi to his sister Lena.
Na nilimjua zaidi wakati alioa huyu dadangu Lena Moi. Tena wakati alikuwa mwalimu yangu.
The young, tall, dark-skinned Daniel braved the lions of fear and charmed his way into her heart. The young girl from Sacho was tuned into his frequency. The lovebirds made their intentions known, and the elders granted them the blessings to get married.
Mimi ndiye nilikuwa nashika maua ya harusi hiyo ya flower boy. Mimi nilikuwa ndio mwenye kushika maua, na hata nafikiri kuna picture ambayo tulipiga pamoja.
And when we sought insight on how the two lovers lived, he reverted to the Kalenjin culture.
Maana hata kwa mila zetu hatukubaliwi kukaa au makulala karibu na room yao. Na unajua hata wakati huu Waafrika hawapendi sana watoto kuwa karibu na nyumba mzee na bibi wanalala. Tuko mbali, na hata wakati saa nyingine hata wanagombana wenyewe kwa room, hawataki hizi tusikie.
Bomet says that while he was not privy to why his sister and her husband parted ways, Moi had a key mantra by which he lived.
Mzee ni mtu wa huruma. Na mara nyingi alikuwa anasema yaliyopita tusahau, lakini tusisahau mapenzi.
As a student, Harun remembers that Mzee attended to him at his Cabernet home when he was unwell. He took him out of school and ensured that he was treated. Another encounter when they both cheated death is one that he says made their bond as friends and brothers even closer.
Mimi na Mzee Moi tuliketi juu ya mbao, na wakati tulifika karibu na mahali inaitwa Chimuru, karibu na Tengesa, ndipo lori liacha barabara na ikateremka kwenye milima.
In his thoughts penned down in this note to his former friend, he says, and I quote, "I trust that God will give me more time to be able to write a book which will contain many of other good things he, Daniel Toretich Arap Moi, did, including the love he showed to children." He also says he will be at the Kabarak school this Wednesday to remember a man whom he knew since he was almost 9 years old, many, many years ago, and he wants to say goodbye one last time. Leila Mohammed, NTV, Elda Maravin in Baringo County.
All right, well, that is the story of the husband and brother-in-law, but soon we will have a look at Baba Moi, the father. But first, police have released a man identified as Daniel Wekesa Nalyanya, who was arrested at the Nyayo National Stadium while attempting to gain access to the presidential dais.
Daniel Wekesa, who caused a scene while Moi's son and Baringo Senator Gideon Moi was giving his tribute, was released later after the officers realized that he was not quite a security threat to the dignitaries present.
Well, Daniel told police that he was just trying to pass a note on to President Uhuru Kenyatta in search of a job.
The University of Nairobi graduate had been taken to Langata police station for interrogation.
And though unconventional, his gutsy move was just a desperate attempt to get a job.
And even as many converge at the Nyayo National Stadium to mourn the passing on of the late President Moi, that is, there are many families that are also in a lot of pain. Shock and grief has once again hit Majengo village in Kakamega after a Class 5 pupil who survived the Kakamega school stampede and was just recently discharged from hospital collapsed and died yesterday.
Well, this now makes 15 pupils who have died following the tragedy, as Anita Nkonge reports.
The shocking death of 11-year-old Salma Bilal brought many together to celebrate her life today and lay her to rest. Salma, who was involved in the tragic Kakamega school stampede, had just been discharged from hospital after spending a week in ICU at the Kakamega Referral Hospital. Her grief-stricken mother recounted the moment she spent with Salma minutes before her collapse and untimely death.
Kufika nyumbani mtoto amekaa akaniambia nasikia njaa. She doesn't take milk. Nikapikia black tea. Mtoto amekunywa kikombe moja ya chai na tosti mbili ya mkate. Mtoto ameongea na doc vizuri akaniambia mimi nitakuongea na daktari. Mtoto ameongea na daktari. Mtoto ameongea na nyanya yake. Kumbe mtoto ananiaga. Nikatoka kwa nyumba tu kidogo kureceive call. Natoka nje naambiwa mtoto anaenda.
According to an autopsy report from the Kakamega General Hospital done by pathologist Dr. Dixon Mshana, Salma died of complications including lung disease following the stampede. 40 students were injured during the infamous stampede that has now claimed the lives of 15 pupils. With ongoing investigations over the cause of the stampede, the school has opened its doors on Monday after a week's closure. An interdenominational prayer service and cleansing ceremony took place at the school on Monday. The prayers came after 4 other pupils who died were buried on Monday.
Sisi kama shule tumeshindwa, tutasema nini? Tumeshtuka, tuna huzuni na tulikuwa tunafikiria haya mambo ya maisha.
The children will formally resume classes on Wednesday. So far, 11 families have buried their children. 4 will be buried on the 15th of this month. Anita Nkonge, NTV.
Well, grace to that family. All right, from that, let's take you back to that story now about Moi as a parent. And we look at Baba Moi now. His son, that is Gideon, spoke about what sort of a father Moi was, and he did speak on behalf of the deceased children, sharing some of the memories of the times that they shared, and he gave us a glimpse into the mzee as a parent.
Our father was a forgiving man. I remember that time he had bought a new car, and like many a young man, I could not resist the temptation to take it for a spin. Unfortunately, my driving skills then did not match my enthusiasm, and the new car was shortly no more. Dreading breaking the news to my father, I had the cunning idea to carry a Bible in one hand as I entered his room. My father, who of course had heard of the accident, took one look at me, shook his head, and burst into laughter. And that was the end of the matter. Alikuwa hii mzee alikuwa anapendanga nyama. And I'll remember, nakumbuka nilikuwa nanimueleza kwamba daktari, tafadhali mzee, daktari amekataa. Akaniuliza, unaona daktari hapa? Hakuna kitu alikuwa nakuja katikati yake na nyama. Hasa kwa Kikwetu tunasemanga karasta, yani mbavu. Other than watching Billy Graham on TV, Mzee loved watching wrestling and was one of Big Daddy's ardent fans.
How I wish my wife was watching this particular piece, especially with the part on meat, because she's big on not having red meat in the diet. Oh, please, let's learn a lesson.
All right, on that point, let's take a quick break. Plenty more stories when we come back. We will be live from Kabarak. Stay with us.
Your multi-bet is on its way to hit the bullseye. Oh, you lose one match, but only in Mozart. Mozart Refund, lose one game, get your cash back. Make a decision. Terms and conditions apply.
By the way, this position is tiring. Nimechoka.
Who's that?
Call for long at 1 shilling 50 cents to all networks.
Cartelo!
Dial star 544 hash to subscribe. Telcom, moving with you.
Meru County Government brings you the first ever Mount Kenya Mountain Running Championship on 22nd February 2020. Come run for a cause to fight cancer, boost environmental conservation, and promote Meru County as a tourist destination. The proceeds from this run go towards the building of the first ever Cancer Institute in Meru Level 5, which will be used to do research on cancer, create awareness, advise on preventive measures, offer diagnosis and treatment. Register to be part of the event at www.mountkenyarun.co.ke. Challenging the heights.
Sona moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
At Safaricom Foundation, we believe that people's dreams have the power to uplift their communities. And this is why we are committed to investing in programs that focus on health, education, and economic empowerment. Through Ndoto Zetu, last year, we met one such dreamer, Dr. Michael Kazungu, who believed that improving some of the facilities at Blue Nile Hospital would increase the levels of access to healthcare for the residents of Mkoroshoni in Kilifi County.
Tulikuwa kama wanakijiji tunapata shida sana.
Kwa bahati nzuri tulipo apply basi tulitunukiwa zawadi kubwa sana, mashine ya kupima damu inaitwa Fulmogram machine pamoja na kile kitanda. Wengi ambao wanakuja sasa hivi wanapata huduma nzuri kwa bei nafuu.
Tuma ombi lako leo online safaricomfoundation.org/ndoto zetu au tafuta msafara wa Safaricom mkoa wako.
Ndoto zetu, uwezo wetu.
Acha hizo.
Cheki nirudisheni sinda yangu bana. Cheki nirudisheni sinda.
Wewe nataka mimi nikufuate kama mimi nataka wewe kuwe bibi yangu.
Wewe Fefeki. Acha kuongea hivyo mambo ya watu wakubwa hivi asubuhi yote.
Mambo ya mbona unaenda ukiambia watu mimi ni bibi yako?
Hata sijaanza, hiyo ni practice.
Kwa hii plot mzima uje kiongea lazima usimame attention.
Nisimamia attention gorilla kama wewe.
Unafanya ni gorilla?
Do you want a place to feed your mind, body and soul? A secure place for your family? A center for quality academic goals for your kids? Call us today on 0790 300 300.
Welcome back to NTV Tonight.
Well, now we cross over live to Kabarak. NTV's Kennedy Murithi is currently at the venue of tomorrow's service, where there will be a mass held for the late Moi, and then his burial will take place. Kennedy, everything looks set and ready for tomorrow. Bring us an update.
Well, a very good evening to you, Smriti and Mark Masai there in studio. And yes, as you have said, everything looks very complete at this particular point, but there are those final touches that just needed to be done before everything else is actually given a clean bill of health. But the whole day today, once we got here in Nakuru, is that we've also been gathering stories just to see what the mood is and what do we expect of tomorrow. And earlier on, I got the opportunity through our correspondent in Baringo to get a feel of what the elders in Sacho, who these are the Kalenjin elders, have a feel or what their feeling is with regards to this particular procession and what has been happening since this whole event started, when the proclamation was made and when the announcement, the viewing and all that. And the elders had quite an interesting view of what has happened, but they do feel very heartbroken that they are not part of this burial plans, and they also have this concerns whether the right burial rituals of the Kalenjin are going to be followed. And this is the story that I prepared earlier on today. Kalenjin elders are battling with the fact that they may barely play any role in the burial of former President Daniel Arap Moi, as the military gears to take full control with some input from the church.
Yeah, but these other things of culture and cultural rights and so forth will have their place, no, but not now.
The elders believe they should have been factored into the plans, adding that he was a respected man in the community, and the failure to grant them an opportunity to bid him farewell the traditional way may attract curses.
Huyu mzee alikuwa ni mzee ambaye clan yake ni Kibasiso, wanalengana na jua. Wakati nalaliswa huyo mzee ambaye ni ya clan ya sote, tota name ni sote, atakuwa kichwa taangaliswa sehemu ya sun.
The elders are also keen on the food to be served to guests, as there is a particular way and a particular kind of food that should be cooked and served.
Mzee kama huyu ndume ile inachinjwa kwa kimila ni ile ndume ambaye imevinywa. Ndume ile imevinywa sote, sababu huyu amezaa, huyu ako na watoto.
A key next step for the Moi family will be that of sharing out his property, and they stand cautioned not to be in a hurry to sort out the matter.
Iko kazi itafanywa, tunaita kiilgari, yani inakumbushwa, alafu ile vitu yake nakuja wasee warika yake wanakuja kutema mate hiyo vitu kabla ichachukuliwa na mtoto yeyote.
And the requirements do not leave the deceased mzee's clothes out.
Wasee wanajikawanyia na inavaliwa, sababu mzee si kutupwa, na patia wale wasee wa jamii wengine, wasee wa kijiji hizo, bas alafu mzee asindikizwe alale.
During the viewing of the late former president's body, there were instances where children were allowed to get into parliament and join the adults in the observation. The elders are unhappy about this as they believe it goes against the beliefs of the community.
Watu wa reke yake na watu wakubwa wanaenda ngalia, lakini sasa upelekwa watoto wachanga, mama iko na mtoto kwa pekani, hiyo si mzuri, si mzuri. Hata mama ambaye iko na mimba haiwezi kubalika kuangalia mzee.
Is some of the views that the elders have, and they really do hope that everything will go as per precision. But earlier on today, we were also saying that everything that was being done, just as Nairobi has been doing, is actually with regard to timeliness, precision, and everything has to go as planned. But already we are told that plans are complete, and we do expect that there are over 30,000 people who will be coming here to this particular place. Already we have seen a lot of interest from the students here at Kabarak University and also the neighboring places, that is the residents from the neighboring places, and all of them might just be coming here from 5 o'clock in the morning, as George Natembea, the regional commissioner, said that the gates will be opening at that particular 5 o'clock. But here is a story Bridget Ngana prepared earlier in the day with regards to the preparations of this state funeral.
They chose to honor the late President Daniel Moi and the founding patron of the Rift Valley Institute of Science and Technology by planting more than 500 indigenous trees and naming this future garden after him.
We decided to have a botanical garden in remembrance of our patron. I would wish to take this opportunity to send our condolences to the family of the late president and the nation at large.
At Kabarak, the dress rehearsal for Wednesday's service was complete as service providers rushed to finalize on the setup.
And what we've done this morning up to now was a rehearsal. How we'll save the body of the late president and how the procession will move all the way to this place where we'll have a service and then back. And also how family members and other VIPs will move from this place to the graveside.
And the towering professor of Kenyan politics will be rested without the vibrant political air that colored his life in leadership.
This is a fairly formal and a very solemn occasion. Politics will not be allowed here, and any individuals who may be planning to come with branded T-shirts will not get in. We want to have this as official as possible without unnecessary side shows. We are mourning the president, so there's no room here for partisan politics.
The gates will be opened by 5 a.m. Wednesday to allow the public into the venue, with Nakuru residents enjoying free transportation from the town center to Kabarak.
We want people to be seated by 7 because by 8:39 we should be starting. So we want by the time the guests, like the president, and other guests arrive, we want all people to have been seated and comfortable in their seats, just waiting for the program to start. Being a military kind of function, preciseness, and actually focus and strictness to the to timelines.
In just a few hours, this dome here at the Kabarak University grounds will be full to the brim with members of the public and dignitaries who shall be here to pay their last respects to the former fallen President Daniel Moi. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Nakuru.
Well, another thing that we've also been able to note is that there is too much precision, and if my camera person Paul Basweti will be able to walk with me, is that the arrangement has already been made, and every chair that is on this particular row, this is just the row next to the casket, has a name, and everybody will be seated where their name is. And this starts where there is the firstborn, that is Raymond Moi, goes all the way to John Mark Moi, retired Major Philip Moi, and all of them and all the family members will be seated here on this particular row. Then we'll also have other government officials on this other side. There is the president's chair which will come and will be placed here. Probably the deputy president's chair will also come and be placed at this particular point. Then there is a seat of the ADC. So we do know that these are some of the chairs that have been reserved, and there is a huge space between where the dignitaries will be sitting and where the other Kenyans will be sitting. This is the over 30,000 people who are expected to come here at this particular point starting tomorrow 5 o'clock. So this huge difference, this huge space has been left. Probably there is going to be a rostrum that is going to be set up for the media and all that, so that nobody says that they are going to be denied that particular opportunity. On this other end, there are two huge photos of the retired president, that is President Moi, who we are going to be bidding farewell to. And also behind him, that is where the clergy will be sitting. So what we do expect tomorrow is that all these things will be going according to the plans and what they do have. This is where the casket will be placed tomorrow, and probably whether there are people who will be allowed to view the body once again as it happened at Nyayo Stadium, we do not know. But we also do know that he was a man who loved flowers, and there are flowers that have just been coming in. There is a lock, there's a trailer, there's a truck that has come in and has brought in this flowers. And we also saw today there are those people who had the lapel flowers. What we do know, whether there are those who are going to be given those lapel flowers tomorrow, we do not know, but it is something that we can expect to wait. So we'll be here starting 4 o'clock in the morning, ready to see as people come in and make sure that we do document this part of history as everybody else has been watching it. So right now, it's adios and a good night from here in Kabarak, but we'll be waking up here. Don't touch that dial. NTV is the station to watch.
Good night, Kennedy Moravi and team there in Kabarak. A long day ahead of you, as you've just described from the itinerary that we've seen and also the setup right there. And yes, we'll be looking forward to that coverage that we will be beginning from as early as 6 o'clock.
That's right, so do stay with us. Now, one of the dignitaries at the state funeral service was Uganda's President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni.
The 76-year-old served alongside Moi for 16 of the 24 years Moi was president, through Mwai Kibaki's entire tenure, and now into Uhuru Kenyatta's reign.
Well, Ken Mijungu now takes a look at how the longest-serving sitting president in the region may still remain in office even after Kenya's fourth president exits office in 2022.
Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni eulogized the late Daniel Moi for under 5 minutes. He spoke to 3 key areas of the late President Moi's legacy.
Sifa yingine ambayo nilishuhudia mimi mwenyewe. Uzalendo, roho ya East Africa na capacity to reconcile even when you have had some differences.
He also spoke last among all the heads of state and government present, an honor preserved for the elders.
Kila kijiji kona mzee wake.
Museveni, at 42 years old, took over from Milton Obote in January of 1986 through a coup. He also played a key role in 1971 coup against Idi Amin. In Tanzania, Ali Hassan Mwinyi was learning the ropes at the time, having succeeded Mwalimu Julius Nyerere barely a year earlier. Tanzania has since had 4 presidents serve while Museveni is in power. Benjamin Mkapa served during Moi's last 7 of the 24 years in office. Then came Jakaya Kikwete and now John Pombe Magufuli, who have all been in power alongside Museveni. In the Kenyan context, Uganda's president has served with all the heads of state except the founding father, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. He served alongside Moi for 16 years, Kibaki for all the 10 years, and now Uhuru Kenyatta for the last 8 years. When Museveni took over power, Moi was settling into a new phase of the job 4 years after an attempted coup. Museveni is likely to still be president when Kenya swears in her 5th president, since his party, NRM, the National Resistance Movement, endorsed him in January of 2020 for another 5-year term. Museveni will be 82 if he decides to leave at the end of that new term.
Waganga wenu hapa, viongozi wenu waliweza kugundua ugonjwa wa nchi yenu na kuwapa dawa ilikuwa inayofaa.
While he will not be the oldest president at that time, Museveni will go down in history as having continuously been in power for 40 years. Ken Mijungu, NTV.
Perhaps why he was called by President Uhuru Kenyatta as Mzee wa EAC. No doubt about that, with his experience in power. Now, something to look forward to tomorrow.
That is right. 6 presidents, Kenya's military, family, friends, dignitaries from around the world, and many others across the globe today stood in awe of a fallen African leader.
Get yourself a copy of the Daily Nation tomorrow for a blow-by-blow account of the moving tribute to former President Daniel Arap Moi in words and pictures.
Plus a 32-page souvenir pullout that you may want to keep forever.
That's a lovely picture.
That really, really is a nice picture. All right, at this point, it's time for a break. On NTV tonight, there's always much more, so do stay with us.
Welcome home to Amani Ridge, the place of peace. Your own urban sanctuary. A lifestyle waiting for you just 20 kilometers from the CBD. A place to unwind and get your health and fitness goals attained. A secure place for your family. A place for your children to have fun. A place to enjoy a sundowner. Success just doesn't happen. You have to make it happen. Make the impossible possible. Invest in Amani Ridge, the place of peace. Luxury you can afford. Call us today on 0790 300 300 or visit www.optivan.co.ke.
With Lipa na M-Pesa, you get more and now you can win.
Kwa majina naitwa Samuel Wajohi kutoka Nyeri County. Kazi yenye nafanya ni ya kugonga kagoto, kuweka malori. Maisha yangu imebadilika sababu yada mahali nikalipa na tiru namba hii. By Tuesday asubuhi nikapigiwa na Safaricom. Kasemekana mimi nimejishindia nyumba nalipa na M-Pesa. Funguo iko kwa mkono yangu na maisha yangu imebadilika kwa saa hii. Wenye wako nyumbani ama Kenya yote mahali iko, waendelee kushiriki na lipa na M-Pesa, tutazidi kushinda.
Lipa na M-Pesa and win now. Do more with Lipa na M-Pesa.
Prepare yourself for a new live bet experience. Top minute, boosted live bet odds. Mozart, make a decision.
New Blue Band peanut butter. Made with 100% pure peanuts. And a good source of omega-6. Grow healthy and happy kids with New Blue Band peanut butter.
Heaviness and a burning inside, it could be heartburn.
Indigestion and heartburn? Eno gets to work in 6 seconds and works on the 6 symptoms of heartburn so you can keep living life non-stop. Eno, fight heartburn and indigestion fast.
Welcome back. Coronavirus has finally been named and will be referred more as COVID-19. The World Health Organization has announced that the name COVID-19 represents the phrase coronavirus disease 2019.
Well, unlike previously, the WHO has a set of rules which scientists must follow when proposing new names for a virus, which must not contain references to certain places in the world, communities, names of people or animals to avoid stigma.
So far, the disease has claimed over 1,000 lives and close to 35,000 cases have been reported globally.
All right, elsewhere now, and we take you to a story where 4 police officers have been arrested in Kisumu following an early Monday morning incident where they allegedly raided the home of former GEM MP Jakoyo Midiwo and attacked him.
The officers are reported to have roughed up the former legislator at his residence in Milimani Estate over a disagreement with his driver. Our reporter Okusa, beg your pardon, has details.
Kisumu County Police Commander Ranson Lolmodoni confirmed that the 4 officers involved in the attack, 3 of them males and 1 female, have already been apprehended. And speaking to NTV on phone, the former Member of Parliament for Game Jakoyo Midiwo narrated how at around 2 a.m. his night guard knocked on his door to alert him that there were intruders in the compound and they were assaulting his driver. When he came out of the house, he inquired from the officers, who appeared to be inebriated, why they were assaulting his driver, and one of them pounced on him, strangling him to the ground. Thereafter, the former legislator told us that he decided to drive himself to the Central Police Station to report the matter. But somewhere along the road, the officers who were driving a Probox intercepted his car and pulled him out, beat him up some more before bundling him into their car and driving him to the Central Police Station, where they locked him up in the cells. But at around 6 a.m., according to Jakoyo, the officer commanding the station and the OCPD released him, and he proceeded to Aga Khan Hospital for examination. Kisumu County Police Commander has confirmed that the 4 suspects will be arraigned tomorrow. Ouko Kusa, NTV, Kisumu.
Quite strange, but I'm sure Kokusa will be following up that particular story. Time for another break here on NTV Tonight. Up next is the sports with Sean Carter-Willis.
Kwa majina ni Shida Gesanda. Mimi ni mchezaji tu. Ndoto yangu mimi iko nitachezea Harambee Starlets niende ngambo. Nikirudi tasaidia mamangu kwa shida. Na ninaona hii ndoto itaanza na Betika na community.
Hii timu yenye hii msichana yangu anachezea, tulianza tukiwa na maono, tunataka tukuze talents ya wasichana, sababu wasichana huwa wanabaki nyuma na wanaenda ma street.
We are very excited because every time we see the excited faces of the young players when they get their kids and their new balls, it gives us a urge to continue investing in the communities.
Betika na community iliongeza morali kwa timu ya Gusii Starlet mpaka wakapiwa mtu mabao 23. Tukiwa na Betika na community, hii timu itaenda mbali, itacheza premier na watoto watajisaidia.
Over the years, Camry has grown to become a world-renowned medical research institution. Join us on the 10th February 2020 as we celebrate our 40th anniversary. The hallmark of the anniversary celebrations is the 10th Camry Annual Scientific and Health Conference taking place between 11th and 13th February 2020 at the Safari Park Hotel, Nairobi. Camry will also have a free specialized medical camp in various counties across the country. Visit our website for more information.
I help women find independence by training them in fish farming. It's tough on my back, joints, and can cause headaches. Panadol Extra relieves multiple types of pain. Panadol Extra, now with new Optizorb technology to fight multiple tough pains with 3 times more pain-relieving medicine in the first 30 minutes when you need it most. Seeing them support themselves makes any pain worth it. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
With Lipa na M-Pesa, you get more, and now you can win.
Lipa na M-Pesa.
There are surprise gifts to 8 customers every minute. Tractors with extras.
Lipa na M-Pesa.
Plus 6 apartments to be given away. Make payments via M-Pesa Buy Goods or Pay Bill. Every 100 shillings spent on Lipa na M-Pesa earns you an entry into the draw. Do more with Lipa na M-Pesa.
Welcome back. I got a bit excited about the sports news. It'll be coming up in a bit. First things first, community clashes in the county of Elgeyo Marakwet are now threatening peace between the Sengwer and Marakwet communities, with the bone of contention being land.
Well, both communities claim ownership to the parcel of land placed at Amaron area in Embobut. Over the weekend, the two groups engaged each other in some battles, with each trying to forcefully remove the other from the contentious piece of land.
Police from the county say relative calm has been restored, even as they seek the intervention of relevant bodies to settle the matter.
Right, and now we can take that sports break. Sean Carter-Willis will bring you the latest in just a moment.
What do you see on the horizon? They say how you start your decade will determine how the rest of it will be. Imagine a decade full of opportunities, investment being one of them. Do you want a place to feed your mind, body and soul? A place to unwind every day, where you can get your health and fitness goals attained? A secure place for your family? A center for quality academic goals for your kids? Or perhaps a place to connect with your friends? Well, you can get all this and more at Amani Ridge, the place of peace, just 20 kilometers from the CBD. Call us today on 0790 300 300 or visit www.optivan.co.ke.
Molfix breathable surface developed with airsoft technology is very soft and provides the best Molfix skincare.
I found the best diaper for my baby's sensitive skin.
All babies deserve a high-quality diaper. You should also try Molfix.
Your multi-bet is on its way to hit the bullseye. Oh, you lose one match, but only in Mozart. Mozart Refund, lose one game, get your cash back. Make a decision. Terms and conditions apply.
E-waste defines all electronics that are obsolete or are overtaken by technology. Take initiative to dispose safely. Reach us on email or the numbers on your screen.
Acha hizo. Cheki nirudisheni simba yangu bana. Cheki nirudisheni bana.
Wewe nataka mimi nikufuate kama mimi nataka wewe kuwe bibi yangu.
Wewe fefeki. Acha kuongea hivyo mambo ya watu wakubwa ya asubuhi yote.
Mambo ya mbona unaenda ukiambia watu mimi ni bibi yako?
Hata sijaanza, hiyo ni practice.
Kwa hii plot mzima uje ongea lazima usimame attention.
Nisimamia attention gorilla kama wewe.
Unafanya ni gorilla?
Do you want a place to feed your mind, body and soul? A secure place for your family? A center for quality academic goals for your kids? Call us today on 0790 300 300.
NTV Sport, in association with Mozart Bet. SMS NTV to 29990.
A very good evening to you. I'm Sean Carter-Willis with the latest sports news. Now, as Nyayo Stadium hosted a funeral service for former President Daniel Arap Moi, debate has raged as to how the government managed to renovate the stadium within a week following years of stagnation. Nyayo and Kasarani stadiums were both constructed under Moi's tenure, with no other president since involved in the construction of a new stadium. It was fitting that former President Daniel Arap Moi's funeral service was held at the iconic Nyayo Stadium in Nairobi. This is the facility that Moi pulled all the stops to construct back in 1983. It is only after the 30,000-seater sports facility was complete that Kenya could now boast of having a modern sports facility capable of hosting international events. Besides the Moi International Sports Centre Kasarani, which was built by the Chinese during Moi's tenure a few years later, no other president of Kenya has built a modern stadium. The Nyayo National Stadium has also become a symbol of broken promises by subsequent governments. The stadium was temporarily closed 3 years ago for renovations for the 2018 African Nations Championship that Kenya had won the rights to host. The renovation works were supposed to be complete in 90 days, but that didn't happen. Through a presidential decree, renovation work was done by the National Youth Service at the stadium, and what had taken years for successive contractors to put right has largely been accomplished by the uniformed men and women inside less than a week. On Sunday, President Uhuru Kenyatta personally drove to the venue to inspect the refurbishment work, which left Kenyans far from impressed. Designed by prominent architect and politician George Nyanja, the facility consists of a FIFA-approved standard-sized football pitch, an Olympic-sized swimming pool, plus an indoor and outdoor arena capable of hosting basketball, handball, volleyball, boxing, badminton and martial arts, among other sports. This venue was known to be so dear to Moi, it is at the main dais that he stood many a time during his 24-year rule and presided over national celebrations. Anthony Davis recorded 25 points and 10 rebounds, while LeBron James added 17 points as the Lakers breezed past the Phoenix.
In association with Mozart Bet. SMS NTV to 29999.